Hey friends, it's Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. I'm streaming live and today is December 18th, 2023. We are closing out the year with more news coming out of Hawaii, Maui to be specific, from your friend and mine, Slosh Green New Deal. And my heart breaks for all of those in Hawaii that are suffering under this governor, that are suffering because of the intentionally inflicted horrors upon the population, specifically in Lahaina. But of course, there is a ripple effect throughout Maui and throughout the Hawaiian Islands. Let me know if you live in Hawaii, if you have friends or family there. I have lovely, healthy Americans that have been writing to me and letting me know exactly what's going on there on the ground. So I just do want to let you know that my heart and prayers are with you. A lot of my coverage has taken a little bit of a turn to some other areas that also need our compassion and prayers for healing and rational minds to prevail. So I just wanted to really put that out there, because what I'm going to share with you is specifically related to the governor and to his very recent press concert, as I call it, because it's as if he's putting on a performance. And I want to share a few minutes of this press concert with you. I know that that's asking a lot for you to listen to him, but there's something very, very important here that is happening in Hawaii. And I believe it is basically like a blueprint for the rest of the United States. I've done over 50 videos. In fact, let me bring you right on over just very quickly before we dive in. I want to make sure that you know where to find my videos here at thehealthyamerican.org. You're on the YouTube channel right now, but please, I implore you to not just go to the homepage. You'll be given very few videos to see. I air most of my videos live, so you need to click on the live tab, and that is where you will see the large majority of my videos. And then when you click on videos, you will also see my premiere uploads, which mean these are aired for you. Everybody can chat and watch at the same time. And I either recorded it as a brand new video. Once in a while, I do a top hit where I replay a video that I think is of such importance that it's important for you and my new viewers to see it. So please make sure that you are subscribed. YouTube has all sorts of shenanigans going on, so that really helps me. When you are subscribed, we can have a larger impact that way. Now, this is who we're going to be talking about, is Josh Green New Deal. And you know what? For some reason, when I do coverage on this story, I really feel like I want to bring you a message from my sponsor that is all about trim with Peggy. So let's do that. Let's hop right on over to belly trim. Now, trust me, I struggle with my own weight going up and down, so I am not pointing any fingers. I actually want to help you and others, perhaps even the governor, if he is trying to trim his tummy. So when it comes to stubborn belly fat, we all, I would say, well, not all of us, but me and others, are searching for what might be coined a miracle pill. And that doesn't really exist. But believe it or not, I did find this exceptional alternative. And you can go and find it as well at trimwithpeggy.com. It uses naturally sourced and science-backed ingredients from nature. It is more effective at targeting your belly fat. It enhances metabolism and it promotes a toned midsection. And I find that this works better than most weight management products that I've found on the store shelves. So there are also tens of thousands of 5-star reviews, and they can't be wrong. So you can place your order today, get up to 51% off, along with many other free bonuses. And again, that is trimwithpeggy.com. There is a 60-day money-back guarantee, and it's non-GMO. It is free of artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, gluten-free, no antibiotics. There is free shipping with every order. And the other thing I love is this company will give you free VIP live health and fitness coaching. You get that from the BioTrust team of expert nutrition and health coaches. You get that for life. So you know what, friends? You can try it out. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee, the free shipping. If you are looking for that little bit of an edge as we enter into the holidays and beyond, try it out. And that is trimwithpeggy.com. All right, friends, let's dive into this press concert that was recently delivered by Governor Slosh, Green New Deal. I have all sorts of nicknames for the public servants. Yes, you heard me correctly, because the public servants are those who are serving the public, and the servants are serving evil. And I will just allow you to judge and draw your own conclusion when I share with you exactly what's going on. In my Maui coverage, I must have over 50 videos in my Maui Fire playlist. So you can go back and learn more about this governor who has a fetish for children's Band-Aids. It's very strange. And he likes this brand that has a lightning bolt as part of the character. And it has to do with fires and lightning and all of that. So you can also draw your conclusions from this strange behavior. Believe it or not, I did not see a Band-Aid on his finger when he was doing his press concert. So let me show you where this is. And let's just listen together for a few minutes. Actually, let me share my screen first of all, and then we will break it down. And what I want you to do is, as you're listening, think about, well, there are many things that could go wrong with his plan of forcing landlords who have Airbnbs or just do their own short-term rentals, that is abbreviated as STR. Maybe even you are a landlord. You might even have a property in Maui, or maybe another vacation spot, or maybe just not even a vacation spot, but you are providing a place for someone to live, and they are paying you for that value. So think about the government coming in and telling you that you don't have the right of setting your own prices, of setting your own terms, of determining that you would rather have a short-term rental, for example, a month at a time, a week at a time, a weekend at a time. But now the government is going to require you at their price to rent on a long-term rental, which is often that would be a 12-month lease. So I want you to think this through specifically in terms of Hawaii and Maui and Lahaina. What is the fatal flaw? There are many, but there's one that I do not see anybody speaking about. And this could actually have that boomerang effect and harm the residents of Maui and Lahaina and Hawaii in general, because likely this probably will be expanded to other areas. So think about that, and then we will dive in together. So let me share my screen, and I will increase the size of this video. And it's just, I probably will stop a little bit from time to time, but let's do this. We are going to hear directly from what the governor has to say. Here we go.
So currently on Maui, so people have perspective, there's 2,500 to 3,000 timeshares at any given time. Now people book them, they own them, and so on.
I need to stop, and I will interrupt. And I know some of you are glad that I'm interrupting because you don't want to hear too much of him at one stretch. For those of you that want to listen to this uninterrupted, I will have a link for you. But you've tuned in because you want my analysis, and I also want to make sure that you can hear what he's saying. So there are 2,500 to there are 12,000 to 14,000 short-term rentals. There are also 2,500 to 3,000 timeshare units, and he correctly said that these are privately owned. And if there are rules related to who you can rent your unit to and for how long, those need to be passed in a legislative process, because no one individual has the legal authority to tell you what to do with your property. And if there are going to be rent control issues or other issues, those need to be handled by the legislative body, people that you elect, and it is not one person calling the shots.
There are units that people can live in, but they're timeshares right now. There's also between 12,000 and 14,000 short-term rentals, depending on how you count it. So just with those numbers alone, that's before you consider illegal short-term rentals.
I have to take issue with that as well. Illegal short-term rentals. I would like to know how he defines that. Does that mean that they are renting them in, for example, a homeowners association where they say, you cannot do short-term rentals, or does that mean that it's not listed on Airbnb? I would like to know how he defines that. What are these laws that the people are breaking when it comes to illegal short-term rentals? It's likely that that there are some laws that are being broken, but I would like to hear more about that. He kind of brushes it aside. I think in an attempt to associate landlords, property owners with people that are doing illegal behavior. He just kind of sandwiched that together. Here we go.
You have between 14,500 and 17,000 homes that are only available in the short-term market. And is that possible for people to rent? No. Right now, the average amount of money that people get from short-term rentals is 352% of the base rent that people would pay. So let me break that out for people a little bit. If house A is renting to a local family for $5,000, so 3 or 4 bedroom house, they're paying $5,000, maybe they're sharing it with family. That's their rental. That's for a local family. House B is next door, but it's a short-term rental. They're getting on average 352% of this. So they're getting over $17,000 a month in revenues.
Okay, I have to pause for a second and let me come off the screen share. This is really important to me and to those of you that are, possibly you might be property owners or maybe somebody that wants to go to Hawaii and do a short-term rental. So there are so many issues here right now. And again, I want to be sensitive to those who have lost their homes. And it is absolutely heartbreaking, just like somebody can lose their home in a single house fire, or there could be a flood, or there could be a tornado. Many people lose their homes through either natural disasters, intentional disasters, accidents. These things happen, just like people lose their cars in an accident, or they have an accident and they might be on disability. Things happen in life, and sometimes horrific things happen in life. There are accidents, there are events that happen. And my question is exactly how much of this is the government's responsibility to take care of? It's my understanding, and as a person who has insurance, it's funny, I did a video how I don't have traditional health insurance, but I do have homeowners insurance. I have car insurance, all the other flood, fire, earthquake, and so forth, because these things can happen. Granted, this is on a large scale. This also makes me very skeptical. And I know you as well, as a healthy American, using your powers of discernment, that this widespread disaster of such magnitude that it appears as though the only logical answer is for the government to step in and handle everything. And they have been for the last several months. There has been FEMA, and then, of course, the Red Cross, as I call them. I'm no fan of how they operate, and there have been many shenanigans that have been associated with that organization, over the many years. But the point is, there are many foundations. There is a lot of money that is going to that island. Who knows if it's even going to help the people that need the help. But here's where I'm going with this. And I'm just going to go to the punchline right now because it troubles me on so many levels. A person, he's talking about a landlord for house A, and he's renting that out, a 4-bedroom home, to a family in Lahaina, and he just used the number $5,000 a month. I don't even know if that's accurate, but let's just use it for easy math. And then he says that another landlord is doing short-term rentals, meaning that landlord is renting it out on the weekends, weekly, likely maybe even monthly, but not on a year lease. And rather than getting $5,000 a month, that landlord, property owner, is getting $17,000 a month. I, again, would like to look at those numbers more carefully, because think about it. We need to dive deeper. First of all, if you are a property owner with a property on Airbnb or VRBO or Facebook Marketplace, or maybe you have a property manager that advertises it for you, there are often vacancies. And he's using this number of $17,000 a month, which may or may not, more likely, be accurate. First of all, they closed Lahaina, so that landlord wasn't making any money during those weeks and months. Why should that landlord be penalized for running his or her business? Who knows how long it took that individual to save up money, to invest in real estate. They may actually have a large family of 4 or 5 or 10 or 15. They might even employ others in that business of running a short-term rental. When there is a short-term rental, there are people that come in and clean the house. There is laundry service. There might be a property manager that is there to greet the person who's coming on vacation. So there are a lot of other people that might lose their job once you take away this short-term rental. And why should the property owner be penalized and be forced by you, Slosh Green Do Deal, to rent out that property at $5,000 a month instead of whatever the market would bear? It's called a free market, although it's not very free anymore because of all of the government involvement. So you're not even thinking about the property owner. That might be their own sole source of income. They might have an elderly parent that is in some type of needing some kind of medical care, and that $17,000 a month is keeping that person alive. You have no idea what these individuals' situations are. Yet you're coloring this broad swath. And what I'm picking up, reading between the lies, is that these greedy property owners don't want to rent out on an annual basis. Joshy, let me just break it down for you simply. They own the property. Yeah, you see, there's something called property, private property ownership, and you're trying to do away with it with your hammer that you're about to mention in just a moment. How is that remotely fair, equitable, diverse, and inclusive when you are not even considering the situation of the property owner? And you know what? You don't need to consider it. It's that person's property, and they have a right to do with it what they want. They could let it sit empty if they wanted to. Why? Oh, I'll give you one answer. It's their property. Now, let's go ahead with some of his, excuse me, really makes me need a drink of water here. More of his press concert. And then there is another piece to the puzzle that I want to provide for you, and you may be coming to this conclusion as well. So let's go back to the screen share, a couple of more minutes, bear with me, and let me make sure I can find it, as a matter of fact, because sometimes it slips away from me. Okay, I need to do this, and then I need to do this, and here we go. Let's go full screen.
And that's just not consistent with what we can do.
Okay, to back up a little bit, he says the short-term rental for $17,000 and the long-term rental for $5,000, that's just not consistent with what we can do. Who's we, Josh? Did you help that landlord purchase that property? Were you the one that did the blood, sweat, and tears for all of those years? Maybe this is their retirement. The callousness is what really bothers me. I think it bothers this American Sign interpreter as well, because she has some faces that I can really relate to, some expressions on her face that I can relate to while she's doing this. Here we go.
As a society.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back. This is also called a false dichotomy, that there's only two choices. You either put your property into the long-term rental, or we're going to make you do it. There's no other way. There are plenty of other ways. Maybe there's more money that people can get, it's not just all or nothing. That troubles me as well. I'm going to put you through this one more time. Here we go.
That's their rental. That's for a local family. House B is next door, but it's a short-term rental. They're getting on average 352% of this. So they're getting over $17,000 a month in revenues. And that's just not consistent with what we can do as a society.
Okay, I'm sorry. This reminds me of the, what did you call him? Obama? I can't remember. I know some of you voted for him, but he had the famous line of, you didn't do that. Like, you didn't do it. We all helped you do it. Really? So we as a society helped that landlord purchase that property and put it into the rental market. Yeah. No, I'm not in favor of that at all. That person has to pay property taxes. That person has to keep the rental looking nice so that it can be rented. If you speak to someone that is in the short-term rental business, they will tell you that the wear and tear on the property is much higher than a long-term rental. Typically, there is, sometimes people will have parties. There's quite a turnover, and there is a lot of upkeep in terms of that. There are some short-term rentals where they keep them, the fridge stocked with little goodies. They go above and beyond with providing you with maps and information about where to, go out to eat and where the different events are happening and different things that you can do on your vacation. So having a vacation rental is a business in and of itself. And it's quite different than having a long-term rental. And if that owner had chosen to have the long-term rental for other reasons, such as not having to worry about the vacancies, not having to worry about the wear and tear, kind of one and done, just get somebody in there and a year later, they'll worry about maybe a new tenant. That is called freedom of choice. I had no idea that my blood was going to boil so much on this video, but let's go back. Hold on to your horses. We'll go back. Let me get this queued up again with you know who. And here we go. Okay, I need to cue this up for you one more time, friends, and we will share the screen. Okay, enlarge, and let's listen.
So the mayor's plan, tax break, so we move some people over. We put some money in, hopefully find a reasonable price point, which is what we're offering, and then get out of this mess over time. And it's going to be very necessary because the Lahaina population, as I shared, was somewhere between 12,000 and 12,900 people that were displaced. So in my opinion, we have to convert a lot of short-term rentals. So let's look at that next slide. I told you it's over a 2-year period. We intend to rent 3,000 units, and 2,000 of those units basically will go to the FEMA eligible individuals. These are people who were already renting, who were working, who are citizens, our local families. Then there's another 1,000 families that were COFA migrants, that might have been undocumented workers. They were members of the community, but they didn't qualify. It's that 1,000 individuals that the state and philanthropists will help pay for.
Okay, in case it's difficult for you to hear again, I will leave a link for you. But he says that the government wants to engage the short-term rentals, that 3,000 will be converted into units for the people of West Maui. So again, more government control, more regulation, more limitations on the private property owner. Now, he does go on to say that we hope that they will voluntarily go along with this program. And if not, he has a solution.
And we'll break out these numbers for people, but that's the universe of the challenge. And until we convert 3,000 units or get them into the market, we're going to really struggle and people will still be in hotels. So over the course of the next couple of weeks, you'll see a lot of movement. On Monday, this past Monday, FEMA, Bob Fenton, who's been a great partner, sent out 13,000 letters to short-term rentals all across the county, telling people, we're here to basically offer you what you got paid in the previous year, and you're going to benefit presumably from this tax break. So there is no reason at all for people not to take this opportunity up.
Now, he says that we're going to pay you what you earned in the previous year. I would like to know, again, what does that require? These private property owners now are going to need to turn over their rent rolls and their income. I know they do that, for tax purposes, but normally the governor of Hawaii would not have access to that. And when he says we're going to pay you what you were paid the first year, well, what happens after that year? You're just going to have a buffer zone. This proposal is not very clear to me. Let's continue, shall we?
Provided they want to be a helpful part of the solution. It will cost us resources that we have set aside in the budget, which we'll be going into deeper detail on Monday. It's necessary. It's necessary. So you'll see that. We'll see what happens over the course of this week. And also after January 1, we'll see exactly how many offers we have.
I think I saw a Band-Aid on his right index finger. I'm not sure. Keep your eyes peeled as well. It's very strange. No, it's not because he's doing diabetic finger pricks. Many of you have told me that's not how it works. his own office said that it was an inside joke. So that's kind of strange, bizarre, and childish.
We're working with our Department of Human Services. We're working with CNHA.
Yeah, he does have a Band-Aid. I don't know if it's the children's Band-Aid, but it definitely is weird.
Working with so many partners. Let's actually look at that next slide. The basic partnerships are County of Maui, of course, they're doing yeoman's work, state, Department of Human Services. I authorized essentially $40 million to both build and rent for those who are in that category of 1,000 people.
So again, just to summarize a little bit, he's talking about all of the money that if you live in Hawaii, it's your tax money. It is really the redistribution of wealth, of income, your tax money being diverted into these programs for, a place for people to live. And you may be in favor of that. It's just something to recognize and acknowledge. And then there's federal tax dollars that are going into this as well. It is very upsetting to consider people who have lost their homes, who are not getting the insurance payouts, that have had their lives turned upside down. And it is very, very difficult. I don't know if this is the correct way of going about it, by potentially harming others while you're trying to help.
And then FEMA, Hawaii Community Foundation, and their generosity, they've raised well over $100 million. Maui Economic Opportunity, Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, and the People's Fund. I was on the phone just this morning texting back and forth with The Rock. They've raised tens of millions of dollars. The
People's Fund, remember that one? The Rock and Ofra, as some people refer to her. Yeah, the People's Fund, that was quite controversial. He says they have raised tens of millions of dollars. Well, is that going to the government? I thought that was going to the people, right? The People's Fund. So again, this gobbledygook is really not making a lot of sense, is it?
It's incredible what people are doing. But even so, we still have to get some of the short-term rentals. And that is absolutely fundamental to any solution we're going to have if we want to give people a dignified space to live in for these next 2 years as we build housing. So one more slide there, I believe, a shared arrangement, the logistics of this. There you can see it. We need 2,000 units, which FEMA pays 100% for. They have multiple mechanisms to do that.
I'm sorry, I gotta come off this screen share again. So 2,000 units that FEMA is going to pay 100% for. Let's just assume, since the governor said that they'll get the fair market value, let's just assume now that that property owner is going to get the $17,000 a month for a year or 2 years, as he said, while they're building other housing. FEMA is going to pay for all of that. Like, sorry to be insensitive, but does that seem fair also? Shouldn't people pay for their housing as well? Where do you fall on this? I feel that when people are kicking in some of their own money to cover the cost of their life, that's important. Maybe I'm off base here. Maybe I'm being insensitive. How do you feel about this? That somebody who lost their home will have 2 years of their home, their new home, that was a short-term rental. So it's probably kind of nice because it's a vacation rental. Like, that's going to be for free for 2 years. And they get the other FEMA money and the People's Fund and maybe they're like, you know what, Peggy, they need more. That's the least of it. Everything that they've gone through, the government should pay for it. You know, I could be persuaded in that argument. I'm a little unsettled with that. I can't put my finger on it, but let's continue, shall we? Let me cue this up for you. And there's only about another minute and a half that we're going to listen to. So let me share my screen. Can't wait to read your comments. Big shout out to the moderators, as also and all of our lovely, healthy Americans. Love your comments. All right, almost done here.
We come up with 1,000 units. We all pay fair market value to the best of our ability, and that's fair market value of what people got the previous year. We're being very generous, and I understand this could cause a ripple effect that people are worried about. And their regular rentals. But this is an emergency. We are going to continue our prohibition on evictions, and the Attorney General is going to be very serious about that. So people should not get the idea for 1 second that they can evict some nice family that's been paying $3,500 rent and then suddenly enter this program. That's not how this is going to work.
Oh, yes, I'm sure that will never happen. So again, it's like so fair. It's so equitable. It's so diverse and inclusive that that short-term property owner now is going to be guaranteed that amount of money, while the long-term property owner, yeah, they real fair, Joshy. Oops, let's continue.
Easy, but people have to be thoughtful and kind. The transition gradually has to be away from short-term rentals to a large degree. And then, of course, I mentioned the cost share and philanthropy. Had very, very good discussions with Hawaii Community Foundation, and they, of course, are generous to an extreme. They will support this program.
Okay, here we're at the crux of the matter. Now he's going to talk about those who will go along with this willingly, and those who might need a little, how do I put it, government push to go along with it.
Finally, the cost is going to be dependent on our total home engagements, how many homes we get. And I would say this, as we build houses, as we build ohanas, we'll be able to let people move into their permanent housing. And that's very important, because over time, that's the right thing to do. Even sharing the cost on short-term rentals, even though it's a lot less expensive than hotels, it's still costly, and we're mindful of that. It's better that we solve this housing crisis and actually build homes. In the coming years, of course, we're going to have a lot of support from HUD. That's going to be a consideration all the way.
I do agree with him that building housing, long term is the direction that you want to move in.
Now, here's the consideration for the owner.
My concern, again, is all of the other type of shenanigans that go on behind the scenes. And I've done some coverage on that, and I probably will continue to bring some along those lines as well. The HUD that he talked about is the Federal Housing Department, and there is that Moroccan, and I just mentioned that because he is Moroccan and not Hawaiian, and that fellow is in charge of this federal program for housing. And I've done videos on that before where there are some questionable activities under his watch as well. Oh, but of course, I need to, just as a reminder on YouTube, everything the government does is for our benefit. They never make a mistake. There's never any corruption. And we should do exactly what the governor says and never question it. Do exactly what the government says, and the governor and the HUD, head of housing. Absolutely. There's never any corruption. And even though I'm going to do a story for you later this week about the cooties funds that were misspent in the state of Hawaii, probably all of the states, but of course they were, because that's just fine. I mean, people who stole the money, who used the money probably needed to. So I'll be covering that coming up.
Fair market value, like I said, was up to 352% compared to previous years. And I'm hopeful people will come in and offer their properties for significantly less.
I hope that people will come in and offer their properties for significantly yet less, because it's the right thing to do. Yes, of course it is.
Important. This is very important.
It's very important.
With the waiver of property taxes, they should be able to be generous.
The waiver of property taxes, again, it's all wrapped up in your tax money, the money that they print out of thin air. And so how is that fair that those individuals are going to have a waiver of their property taxes, where the very people who lost their homes? I don't know if the governor waived their property taxes or not.
But I do want to be blunt here. If we don't get people stepping up, I'm going to drop the hammer.
If we don't get people stepping up, I'm going to drop the hammer. Oh, that sounds nice. Yeah, tell me more.
On short-term rentals.
I'm going to drop the hammer on short-term rentals. Look at this woman's expression, and she's about to do her hammer gesture. Let's just back up a few seconds here.
With the waiver of property taxes, they should be able to be generous. But I do want to be blunt here. If we don't get people stepping up, I'm going to drop the hammer on short-term rentals that aren't able to be used for our people. It's just not okay that we don't have housing for our local people. And
that is like, that has to be one of the most profound statements he's made. It's just not okay that we don't have housing for our local people. Very profound. It is sad, and it's upsetting, and it's tragic. And it's also not okay.
And so I will propose a moratorium on short-term rentals through emergency rules. I'm sure we will face litigation, but I will do it if we don't get 3,000 units.
I will impose a moratorium, meaning the legislature is not going to be involved. I, the dictator of Hawaii / Green New Deal, will lay down the hammer on these. And he's just calling them short-term rentals. He doesn't want to let us know that there's actually an individual, maybe even a family, who owns this property, who probably spent many years trying to save up enough money and take out a mortgage to actually own this property. We don't want to put a face to that. It's just the short-term rental that's going to get the hammer. And he'll get challenges. He knows it already because it is illegal. So he's already admitting that.
For our people who have been living in hotels, because it's not, I'm going to drop the hammer on short-term rentals.
I'm going to drop the hammer on short-term rentals
that aren't able to be used for our people.
That aren't able to be used for our people. Now, I'm going to draw this conclusion in just a moment. I hope that you will as well. There's another dangerous precedent and another obstacle that apparently this man is blind to.
It's just not okay that we don't have housing for our local people. And so I will propose a moratorium on short-term rentals through emergency rules. I'm sure we will face litigation.
I'm sure we will face litigation. Oh, yes, you will.
I'll do it if we don't get 3,000 units for our people who have been living.
I will do it if we don't get 3,000 units for our people who have been living in hotels.
Because it's not civilized to make people wait to get housing after they've lost their home in a fire.
Because it's not civilized to make people wait to get a home, or what did he say, after they've lost their home in a fire.
I'm going to drop the hammer on short-term rentals that aren't able to be used for our people. It's just not okay that we don't have housing for our local people. And so I will propose a moratorium on short-term rentals through emergency rules. I'm sure we will face litigation, but I will do it if we don't get 3,000 units for our people who have been living in hotels. Because it's not civilized to make people wait to get housing after they've lost their home in a fire.
It's not civilized to make people wait to get housing after they've lost their home in a fire.
That may be viewed as fairly controversial, not from the perspective of someone who's got a family of 5, 6 people and they've been living in a hotel room. They need to be helped. So I'll do that if necessary.
All right, that's where I'm going to stop, friends. I will leave a link for you so that you can watch that in its entirety. And here's where I'm going with this, how this approach could actually backfire. You might be of a view that's completely in opposition to mine, and I would love to hear it. You may say, Peggy, this is an emergency. There are people that are living in hotel rooms. It's very difficult. And there are these property owners that should be compelled to make these homes available on the long term. Now, there probably are some property owners that have done that on their own, just on their own accord, because they are financially able to do so. They think it's a good idea, maybe just out of their heart of compassion. Maybe they think financially it makes sense. But again, I mentioned a whole litany of things about short-term rentals that a lot of people don't take into consideration. So suddenly you've got 3,000 units that were short-term rentals are now long-term rentals. Not only are the services that are related to the short-term rentals, they're going to be affected. So the people that were cleaning the house, the people that were providing the, linens and the laundry, and maybe even doing the laundry, the property managers now, they might have been making money every time they got a new person in. So there is going to be a ripple effect in the economy, but there's even another aspect to this that I don't hear anybody talking about. Think about it. Who goes into those short-term rentals? Vacationers. They're going on vacation. They're a part of the tourism industry in Hawaii, on Maui, in Lahaina. Tourism is the number one source of income for that island. So now you're going to be taking away the source of tourism. And think about the people that are renting out, I don't know, surfboards, paddleboards. What about the restaurant owners? You've got people that are coming for their once in a lifetime vacation or maybe their annual vacation, and they want to go to all of their favorite restaurants. They want to buy jewelry. They want to get souvenirs. If you're turning over that entire area, and maybe that's too large of a statement, if you're turning over an additional 3,000 units out of however many are, I think he said 14,000 in that area, that you are taking out of the rental market, out of the short-term tourism rental market, that is going to have a boomerang effect on others, on the people that actually rely on tourism as their source of income. There might be Uber drivers. There might be those that are giving tours. I mean, put in a comment, I would love to know if you work in the tourism industry and what other boomerang effects this could have in the long term that actually could reduce the economic vibrancy of this area. You see, this is just how my mind works. When I'm faced with a set of circumstances, I like to go through all of the layers. I like to pick it up, turn it around, upside down, look at each side of it and say, hey, let's consider the other effects that could be occurring. I did a top hit over the weekend about the zero emissions myth. And I mention this now because at the outset, people think, oh my gosh, I never have to put gas in my car. That's absolutely fantastic. I don't have to worry about oil running out. You don't have to worry about oil running out, actually. I talked about that in the video. But the point of that video was to help uncover other side effects and aspects of circumstances and conditions that you might not have been aware of. Friends, I don't have the answers to this housing crisis on Maui. I wish I did. I would love to hear yours. I'm not aware, and I want to do more digging on this. Perhaps there is something that the military could do. Maybe there are barracks that are not being used. Maybe there is some federal land that is available that is not designated for the Hawaiian Homeland Act, because there are a lot of regulations that are related to the land of Hawaii and its ownership of the people. And, you know, this Green New Deal fellow is just bursting onto the scene. He ran his platform for governor because remember, he's only completed his first year. He ran for governor on the platform that he was going to declare housing as an emergency. And he did that over a period of several months with different proclamations leading up to 1 month. Actually, it was even less than 1 month, I believe, prior to this horrible disaster in Lahaina, where he just, with one stroke of the pen, set aside, you know, dozens basically of regulations that now he wanted to kind of cut through and remove the legislature from that. So I did several videos on that, and some of those have been rolled back because of the information that we're bringing to light. So my point in this video is to bring you this information, help you look at things with a different perspective, dig deeper, alert others to this. And again, I don't have all of the answers when it comes to solving these issues, but I do have a lot of questions about the way that they're going about it. And I want us to be very careful about the false dichotomy. That is a type of logical fallacy. And I want to do more teaching on the logical fallacies so that you can spot them when people are putting forth an argument. And I know many of you are, up to speed on that, but it's so important for us to be reminded and to review these. A false dichotomy is when there are two choices. You either convert your own private property from a short-term rental where you're running a business, maybe ideally, possibly for tourists, you convert that, or we're going to force you to do that. Like, those are the two choices. there has got to be something more within that. So, friends, I will continue to bring you more coverage on Maui and on Hawaii. I will cover this controversy about how the cooties money was spent. And then I want to do a video for you about Mark Zuckerberg and all of the controversy around his, I think it's $270 million, bunker that he is doing actually on the island of Kauai. But the concept of, buying up this land, and on the one hand, the governor of Hawaii is pointing his finger at these hardworking private property owners, and on the other hand, has no issue with the, hundreds and hundreds of acres, maybe even thousands of acres that are being purchased by one individual. And again, hey, if that person has the money and they're not breaking any laws, I suppose that's okay. But I want to dig into that a little bit more. So I've got a couple of stories coming up for you on Maui. I really appreciate you being on board. We are heading into the holiday season, and I'm using that phrase on purpose. And at the end of the week, I will have a special video for you about if you find that the holidays are not so happy after all. These are some topics that I've been covering on my second channel called Living Swell with Peggy Hall. And I want to air that for you as well, because I think it will be very valuable for you, as for some of us, the holidays are not that happy. Okay, friends, that's a wrap for this evening. Thank you so much for being on board. I appreciate you. I thank you for being a subscriber, for being a person of discernment, for being willing and able to look at things a different way. That is how we learn and grow. All right. I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming broadcast. I will be sending out a Substack on this very topic. So be sure that you subscribe. It's peggyhall.substack.com. There will be all sorts of links and additional analysis on